Great. Yeah. And just giving yourself a few moments to sort of accept the invitation of whatever sensory prayer you've brought with you, whether it's a stone that you're holding in your hand or a smell that you're rubbing on your palms and taking in. And it's so sweet to be together again. It's been many moons since we were last here together, and everything feels same and different as it always does when we take a meaningful pause, right? Yeah. So let's just take a moment to land here together. Maybe your eyes want to close, maybe they feel comfy staying open and setting on one supportive object in front of you. But doing whatever it is that helps your system start to arrive with curiosity. And there might be some stillness that comes naturally, or a little bit of swaying movement forward and back or side to side, if that feels soothing to your body. And just slowly starting to breathe in a purposeful way. It doesn't have to be particularly controlled or metered. It can just be the invitation of your breath to collaborate consciously with you as you're landing here. Just taking a moment to notice what it is that you arrived here today with a yearning for. Zero judgment or need to frame it in the perfect words. Just let yourself sort of feel the essence of what you came here hungry for. And if you can sort of feel into the holiness of that desire, because that desire is what is drawing you towards some kind of practice, a practice that you don't yet know what it will offer, but something inside of you is telling you that today is the day for that sort of practice. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. And this is the magic of the weaver, this amazing archetype in the pantheon of Jewish priestess archetypes. And I'll share with you, I'm working from this book, The Hebrew Priestess by Jill Hammer. So a huge part of this series is inspired by this. And I'm also in tandem working with this book called No Bad Parts, which is written by Richard Schwartz, who started the internal family systems model. And the beauty of both of these models, coming from very radically different places in the world and brains, is that they invite us to make contact with parts of the whole. And to see them, these archetypes, these aspects of ourselves and the world and the earth, not as separate, but as deeply connected. And so we start with the archetype of the weaver because it invites us to lean towards a bringing together, a filtering process of how things that seem totally unrelated, parts of ourselves, parts of our brain and body and spirit, parts of our desire, the things we yearn for, often there are competing desires that they feel contraindicated to each other in some way. One part of us deeply wants to take an adventure, and another part of us deeply, deeply resists the idea of change, right? And the weaver invites us, the weaver that exists in all of us, right? All these archetypes are accessible within and around, invites us to see how seemingly disparate parts are actually part of something that is whole and holy. And to practice with the archetype of the weaver is to learn to hold the tension of seeming conflict and to find the healing nature within it. Two things, two parts, two experiences that don't seem to be able to exist together or be harmonious. With the conflict of those, we find perhaps the way in which they merge and actually can support one another. The irony of yoga and meditation and sort of the world of healing, right, is that sometimes we actually arrive at those places to transcend the parts of ourselves that we feel unhappy with or guilty about or uncertain about. The parts of ourselves that we associate with like bad habits or things that we just have judgment about. And this is actually the opposite of the invitation of the weaver. It is not to arrive in these practices and to sort of like rise above. It is in fact to arrive in the practices, the very practices that are sometimes used to avoid doing the work. And beautifully, these same practices can usher us into doing our deepest work. Because these practices call us into deep presence and engagement with what feels like conflict and what can actually become something deeply generative if we are willing to hold more than one truth at once. And there's this prayer in the Jewish tradition, Kadosh, 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 and it means holy, holy, holy. And when we say it, every time we say it, we lift our heels a little bit more, and we'll play with this in the practice. The idea being that we're getting somewhere, closer to God, closer to divine, closer to spirit. And so my invitation to us as we engage with this idea of weaving together and bringing together parts is that we say Kadosh, 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 that we actually lean towards as opposed to away from the parts of our life, of ourselves, of our spiritual work that make us nervous, that make us curious, that feel raw and messy, and as such, beautifully, beautifully uncrystallized. Because to be messy is to have it all be shaken up, meaning that there are all of these beautiful parts that we then get to figure out how we weave together. To make a garment, to make a tapestry, is essentially just take all of these chaotic pieces of string and to suddenly begin to connect them. And maybe sometimes when we start weaving, we know, okay, this is going to be a sweater, right? But a lot of the time, energetically and emotionally when we're weaving, we don't know what the fuck it is. It could be a sweater. It could be something completely different, right? We might think that it's going to be one thing, and then it actually turns out to be something very different. So the invitation of the weaver is, I don't have to know what I am becoming to actively engage in the process of co-creation between the elements and myself. I just have to show up for the process of becoming, the emergence, and not demand a polished result or completion. It's the idea that when we're in process, when we're in learning, when we're in opening, that we can move through the deepest recesses of ourselves, the places where there is resistance to engagement with these certain parts, and we can begin to be active in the process of knowing ourselves, even if we're not sure where it's leading us. We trust in our fingers, in our bones, and our breath that when we begin any journey of movement and breath and prayer, that we are beginning to carve out the path for the parts of us that have been hidden to come forward and be in some kind of active dance, which includes tension and conflict, right? And also beauty and connection and ease. So maybe right and left palm can turn up here, and an invitation for the different sides and parts of ourselves and our practice and our identities to begin to emerge through our palms, through our fingertips, through the central channels of our body, Ida and Pingala, the left and right in the yogic tradition. Masculine and feminine elements combine and open beautifully to create something whole and new that is neither one, but instead a fusion that creates something entirely magnificent that couldn't be if those parts were separate. Kadosh, kadosh, kadosh. Holy, holy, holy. We lean towards this tension and this curiosity as we begin this practice of sacred movement and community, bringing each other together so that we might discover something as a whole and as individuals. And from here, you can bring your hands to your heart and feel what it's like to connect. You might like to make the sound of Om with me, which is how I've been trained to call myself in, or make an entirely different sound or prayer that feels right to you today. Big breath in. Just lingering for a moment in the way that sound calls in both sides of the body, right? Even as they hold different energies, they're both awake and alive when we make a sound. Okay, so when you're ready, you can find your way onto your mat. We'll start in child's pose. If you've practiced with me before, and most of you have, you know that all of this is literally just the gentlest suggestion. You can do absolutely whatever you want during this next hour. We're really here to be together as humans, and the movement is beautiful and secondary, right? And I've got some potions here that I'll take throughout. So if there are any parts of your healing practice, parts of your awakening practice that help you to be present here, feel free to integrate them as we do this practice. Okay, and just some gentle wiggles here. And again, you're going to feel through the right arm stretching long, and then the left arm stretching long. So we're just feeling into both sides of the body. They weave together at the central channel, Sushumna. But for now, it's actually fun and joyful and can be sort of gratifying to feel into one side at a time. So really stretch through the right side. Right tush drops back, right arm stretches forward. And feel into what space is available along that side body and rib cage. And when you're ready, just softening that side, letting the arm sort of come back into the socket. And we'll stretch long with the left arm, left hip drops back and down, just breathing space between the ribs on the left side body. In no part of spiritual practice is it asked that both sides of the body or different parts of you have the same experience. So we don't show up with that expectation. Instead, we're just curious in the unfolding and what is available here. Relax the left side of the body. Spread your fingers wide. And inhale up to tabletop position. Walk your knees in if they were wide. Just feel the shoulders plugging onto your back, long through your spine. Both sides of the body are engaged, different, but present. Inhale, arch your back, gaze up towards the sky, lift your tailbone. And exhale, round your back, press down through both hands, curl. Inhale, arch your back, gaze up. You might stick out your tongue here. I have cat hair in my mouth. Exhale, round your back, press the earth away. Feel the back body curl, curl, curl. One more time, inhale, arch, gaze up. Big exhale as you curl in. Good, yo. Back to neutral spine. Walk your hands a little bit forward. Tuck your toes and stretch your tush up and back into the sky, downward facing dog. And just some slow wiggles here. Greeting this morning body with some sweetness. If you find some parts that are talking extra loud, great. That's an invitation, right? We're not trying to transcend those parts. We're dropping in and listening. So just notice what they're saying. You might offer some extra breath or tenderness to that part. Good. Lift your heels when you're ready. Bend your knees, look forward, and take a walk. Knees can be as bent as you like, up towards your hands. Feet hips width or wider. If you've got a block or a stack of books, you can use it under your hands for support. Inhale to lengthen your spine halfway up. Right body and left body long. Feel the difference here. Exhale, fold forward. Again, like that. Inhale, halfway lift. Heart reaches forward. Nice, y'all. Exhale, melt down towards the earth. One more time. Inhale, lengthen your spine, collarbones broad. Exhale, melt towards the floor. You can keep the block or let it go. We're gonna hang heavy here. It might feel good to bend your knees a little bit so that you can tilt your sits bones up towards the sky and let your upper body pour like a river down towards the earth. Backs of your hands can maybe connect to your legs or the floor, and you could just take a little sway side to side here. Let your head and shoulders hang heavy. If it feels good, some releases of breath with sound, so it might be like, or a big sigh. Just letting the breath sort of mimic what the upper body feels like as it pours over and softens. The sequence we're doing today was designed under the last new moon, and the next new moon is tomorrow, right? So it's a sequence that's inviting us into curiosity about what is starting to emerge. And this is the path of the weaver, to see what might be ready to come forward and to imagine it in our dreams and in our hearts before anything is actually in front of us. Good, y'all. When you're ready, turn your toes out, heels in, and drop your tush for Malasana Yogic Squat. Your knees and toes are tracking generally in the same direction. Yep. And your elbows might be inside your knees, fingertips together in front of your heart. And you can play, hi Theo, you can play with engaging, hugging your heels together, lifting through your pelvic floor, lift a little bit up and out, and then really soften and melt towards the earth. Maybe the inhale lifts you up a little bit. Exhale melts you towards the floor. No one variation is better, right? We're feeling into the rhythm of all things and how they connect. Couple more breaths here. This is a beautiful place to bow your head to your heart slightly and just offer some gratitude for your body in exactly the form and the shape and the attitude that it has today. Good, and when you're ready, forward fold, toes forward, bow your head. Halfway lift, deep breath in. Exhale, fold forward, press down into the earth with your feet. Inhale, reach all the way up to standing, reach tall. Exhale, hands to your heart. 3 times with your heels lifting up. Kadosh, kadosh, kadosh. So lift the heels a little bit, lower them back down to the earth. Lift the heels a little bit more. Just feel your low belly and low back supporting you. Drop. One more time. Lift your heels high. Breathe in. Feel the lift of your collarbones and heart. And then exhale, soften down to the earth. Bend your knees gently. Inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant your hands, step your right foot back, right knee drops down to the earth. Low lunge, take your time. Inhale, sweep your arms up. Interlace your fingers above your head, so left and right knee, and then press the heels of your hands up towards the sky. You can look right out in front of you, or gently lift your gaze skyward, but just enough to find space in the chest without crimping at the back of the neck. If that doesn't work, I like to sometimes put my hands behind my head for support, elbows wide, just to remind my head and neck that it's not solely the brain's job to hold me up all day, and that my body has a lot of strength underneath the brain that can sustain and support the weaving that I'm doing. When you're ready, reach your arms up to the sky, big breath. Exhale, hands down. Shift your weight back, straighten your left leg, flex your left toes. Good, again like that, bend your knee. Inhale, sweep your arms up. Exhale, hands down to the earth, straighten your front leg, half splits. One more time, bend your left knee. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, shift your weight back. Slowly rebend your front knee, tuck your back toes, lift your back knee. Right hand bumps out to the right. Circle your left arm up towards the sky. Open through your chest. Left hand comes down outside your left foot. Step back to downward facing dog. Left foot meets the right. Inhale, come forward, high plank. Exhale, lower your knees, bend your elbows, lower all the way down to the floor. Cobra pose, roll your shoulders back, stretch back through your toes. Exhale to lower. Hands come wide, tense your fingers past the edges of your mat. Inhale, lift through your chest. Exhale, dip your left ear down, look up and over to the right. Inhale, find center, lift through your sternum. Exhale, right ear dips down. One more time each side. Inhale, find center. Exhale, left ear down. Inhale, lift. Exhale, right ear down. Inhale, find center. Breathe your heart forward, open through the belly. Exhale all the way down, seat to heels, child's pose. Palms turn to face up. Let your head release towards the earth. Sitting all the way back on your heels, reach your arms out to the side. And eagle arms, right arm underneath the left. So we're weaving together the arms. Backs of the hands can come together or palms can come together. If it doesn't feel good to sit back on the heels, you can stand on your shins. And just feel what happens as you weave these arms together. What can open up at the back door of the heart. And notice how when there's a weaving, tension tends to creep up through the shoulders and jaw and chin. So can you soften just a little bit to be with that tension without letting it take over? Gently release the arms, open out to the side, feel the difference. And we'll switch side, left arm underneath the right. Your right shoulder can pull back just a little bit. This cat hair journey today. Slow, deep breaths across the back of your heart. Kadosh, kadosh, kadosh. How does being with sensation bring me close to myself, to a space where new things are emerging, to my capacity to be engaged and present inside of conflict? Good. Gently unwrap the arms, reach them out to the side, and then hands come down in front of you around your back. Good. Walk your hands a little bit forward, tuck your toes, lift your hips, downward facing dog like a wave. Inhale, ripple forward, high plank. Exhale, bend your knees, circle up and back. Your tush is kind of guiding. Inhale, come forward. Exhale, swoop up and back. Good. One more time. Inhale. The tide of the moon here. Exhale, stretch up and back. Right leg reaches up and back into the sky. Big breath in. Bend your knee. Stack your hips. Point your right knee up towards the sky. Right leg up and back. Deep inhale. Step your right foot forward. High lunge. Back knee stays lifted this time. Reach your arms up towards the sky. Big breath in. Exhale, slowly airplane pose. Arms sweep back by your hips. Push off your back foot. Play around with stretching through your standing leg. The wobble is part of the magic. So again, the opportunity to not avoid it, but actually breathe into the wobble and see what's there. All the way up to standing, left knee in. Wrap your left leg over your right like you're sitting back in a chair. Left arm under the right for eagle pose. Drop your tush a little bit. Lift your forearms up. You can stay right here or curl. Elbows come in towards your knees. Slow, deep breaths. When you're ready, unwrap, chair pose, feet together. Stretch your arms up towards the sky. Inhale, reach up and out. Exhale, fold forward, hinge from your hips. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, step your left foot back, left knee to the earth. Inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, half splits, hands down to the floor. Shift your weight back. Good. With your breath, inhale, bend your front knee, reach your arms up. Exhale, shift back, straighten your front leg. One more time, inhale, bend your knee, reach your arms up. Exhale, shift your weight back. Rebend your front knee, interlace your fingers, press the heels of your hands up towards the sky or hands behind your head. Elbows wide. Gently draw your outer right hip back. Slow, deep breaths, feeling where the right side meets the left. Stretch your arms up towards the sky if you haven't already. Hands down to the earth. Tuck your back toes, lift your back knee. Circle your right arm up and open. Big twist. Reach through your right fingertips. Good, y'all. Right hand down to the earth. Step back to high plank. Inhale. Exhale, lower your knees. Bend your elbows all the way down to the earth. Cobra pose. Lift up. Exhale, back down to the floor. Feel your belly soften towards the earth. Reach your hands back by your hips. Long neck. Inhale to lift. Torso, hands, maybe legs for locust pose. So how do we balance the front and back body? Feel how the back body sometimes just wants to crunch to compensate. And instead, how can your front body lift to meet and support your back body? It might mean less high in pose and more length and space across the back of your shoulders. Exhale to lower all the way down to the earth. Left ear to the mat. Pause for a moment. Interlace your fingers at your low back. Forehead to center. Inhale to lift. Again, your front body is lifting up to support your back body. More of a meeting and less of a crunch. And it might feel good to do that audible breath again. When we're at meeting points of seemingly disparate things, parts that have been in conflict or ideas, a lot of tension gets built up. So there's something really powerful about practices of release and opening in those spaces. Rest when you're ready, right ear down, release your interlace. Wiggle your tush a little side to side here. Good, hands by your sides, press up to tabletop position, and then tuck your toes, lift your hips, downward facing dog. Left leg up and back into the sky, full breath in. Bend your left knee, point it up towards the sky, spread your toes. Inhale, stretch long through the top of your left toes. Exhale, step your left foot forward, take your time to lift up, high lunge. So left and right sides are meeting by left hip pulling back, right leg drawing a little bit forward. Good, y'all, deep breath in. And then soften into the earth on your exhale. Launch for airplane pose. How does pressing into the solidness of the earth help to make space for opening through your chest here? Good, all the way up to standing when it's time. Right leg wraps over, you're sitting back in your chair. Right arm wraps under. This side is way more wobbly for me, right? So just feel into the difference without judgment. The forearms might lift. You might curl around a beach ball here as you bring your elbows towards your knees. Soft jaw if you can, or at least just noticing the tension where it is. When you're ready, unwrap, feet together, arms stretch up. Inhale, reach all the way to standing, reach up and out, hands to your heart. Sit back, chair pose, one breath in, inhale. Exhale, fold forward. Halfway lift, inhale. Exhale, step back, high plank. Take a deep breath in, broaden through your chest. You could drop your knees or take chaturanga, lower halfway down, exhale. Inhale, cobra or upward facing dog. Big inhale. Stretch back, downward facing dog. Stretch your left leg up and back. Step your left foot forward. Warrior two, windmill your right arm open. So there's a reaching out in this shape through your heart space and also a drawing in here. Drawing in from your fingers and the elements around you into your heart, into your center line. Soft jaw, soft breath. Flip your palms. Exalted warrior, left arm lifts. Right arm can wrap around your lower back. Good, straighten your left leg, triangle pose. Reach long with your left hand down to your stack of books or your block, right arm up towards the sky. Reach your right arm past your right ear. Stretch long through your fingertips and through your right heel towards the earth. Big, deep breaths. Just breathing into the spaciousness of the container of your body here. Good. Circle your right arm down and around. You're coming to center. Turn your toes out, heels in. Halfway lift, deep breath. Exhale, bend your knees. Rise up for goddess pose. So your knees are roughly tracking over your heels. Yeah. Soften your jaw. Palms could turn to face up again. And a little bit of side to side movement. Your hands might come to support your upper and lower belly here, right? Or front and back, lower back and low belly, whatever parts often pose a challenge to connect to. Those are the parts that are asking to be touched and met. And if you touch and meet them and they're not inviting that today, well, great. That's really valuable information. And you can place your hand in a proximal space that is close by, but not directly on, because we're meeting the parts at the place where they are. There's an invitation without a demand. Good. When you're ready, straighten your arms, straighten your legs, lift up. Warrior 2, bend your right knee towards the back of your mat. Flip your palms. Exalted warrior lift. Maybe a half bind around your low back. So equal parts surrender in the right knee as you soften and reaching up with the right fingertips. And you might even be able to feel the thread like a weaver between your right fingertips and your right knee. How are you pulling them in opposition, and also how are they anchoring you in towards center together? Straighten your right leg. Triangle pose. Right hand down to your block or the earth, left arm up. You could angle your back toes in just a little bit for extra support. Left arm reaches past your left ear. And then slowly circle your left arm down and around. This time we'll widen the feet, toes in, heels out. Halfway lift, deep breath. Exhale, fold forward. You could bring your hands down. You could interlace fingers at your low back and lift your hands up and over your head. What's it like to be present with the tension that exists without shying away from it or pushing into it, right? You're in this gentle balancing. And when you're ready, gently release the arm variation you've taken. Walk your feet in a little bit until you're in goddess stance. And walk your hands up your thighs to lift your torso up. Yep, you're just gently opening the knees with your hands. Good, y'all. Inhale, lengthen through your spine as much as you can. And then again, we'll dip the left shoulder down like we did in Cobra. Look up and over to the right. Oof. Breathe into the ribs there. Inhale, find center. Exhale, dip your right shoulder down, look up and over to the left. Good, your breath, your timing. Inhale. Exhale, left shoulder dips. Inhale, open through the center. Right shoulder dips. Inhale, find center. Straighten your arms, straighten your legs. Goddess pose. Good. Now you're going to imagine that you're holding the moon in your hands. So your arms are lifted, but there's something between the hands that you're holding. Yeah, and feel the hug in towards that energy. Take a big breath in here. You might want to watch me first. We're going to do a big swirl, okay? So inhale, and then I'm going to bring the left side down, curl the right arm in, and the left arm lifts me up. Down, around, and up. You can be moving in either direction with your breath. Eventually we'll switch directions, so take your time. Down, swirl it around, and up. When you're ready, straighten your legs, take a break, and then we'll move to the other side. I find the sound effects help. But do as you will, right? You're weaving your own practice of opening through the pelvis and the soles of the feet. The exhale might give you a little momentum, and the inhale lifts you up. When you're ready, find center. Bring your hands to your heart. Straighten your legs. Good. Reach your arms up towards the sky and pivot towards your left foot, towards the top of the mat. Left hand to your left hip. Right arm stays lifted. Inhale. Exhale. Reach out and forward. Pause at halfway. Feel the front body rising up to meet your back body. And then right hand down to your block or the earth. Left arm up towards the sky. Revolve triangle. Good. Your left arm is going to circle back towards your left hip, down and around. Bring your hands to the earth. Bend your back knee. Untuck your back toes. Sit back on your right heel. Stretch your left leg long. Half split, sitting all the way back towards your right heel if that feels good. Inhale, lengthen your spine. And then whatever variation of half splits you can, if it feels good, fold over your front leg a bit. Or stay lifted and breathe broad across your chest. Good, you'll slowly lift back up. Tuck your back toes, lift your back knee. Lengthen your spine, inhale. Standing splits, we'll take it forward, lift your right toes up towards the sky. Hands can come nice and wide, let your head hang heavy. If you have variations of this pose you like to play with, like widening your right hand and lifting your left hand to your right toes, feel free. But it may not be necessary to find what you need. The strength of the standing leg and the release, the river of your torso pouring towards the earth. Good, y'all take another deep breath where you are and then slowly step back to warrior two. Right foot meets the earth. Windmill your arms open. Straighten your arms, straighten your legs. Good. Heels in, toes out. Goddess pose. Interlace your fingers. Heels of your hands reach up towards the sky. Tailbone softens towards the earth. Weaving together the sky above you and the earth at your pelvic floor. On your inhale, feel them come together at your belly. And on your exhale, feel them soften and open, expanding out away from each other. One more breath like that. Inhale. Exhale. Straighten both legs. Pivot to the back of your mat towards your right foot. Bring your right hand to your right hip. Left arm stays up. Inhale. Exhale, reach out to the halfway point. Use your right hand to just gently draw your right hip back. And then left hand comes down to your block or the earth. Right hand could stay on your right hip or reach up towards the sky for a revolve triangle. Notice if your neck and head are trying to do too much for the twist. Let them just be a natural extension of what's happening in your ribs and your heart. Good, you'll circle the right hand down by your right hip and around. Lift up onto the back heel, drop your back knee, untuck your toes. Shift all the way back to sit on your left heel. Inhale, lengthen your spine, broaden your chest. Exhale, fold. Maybe just the tiniest little bit over your right leg. Just gently bowing to the earth and the parts of us that have been hidden, but not at all unactive. The parts of us that have been waiting to be heard, to emerge, to be woven in. Gently shifting your weight forward. Come up onto your front foot, tuck your back toes. Inhale, lengthen your spine. And then launch with your breath. Left toes up, standing splits. Let your head hang. Hands come wide. Give yourself some freedom to play. You could wiggle your toes. You could reach up for your left foot with your right hand. And anytime I'm not sure about a variation in the asana practice, I just ask myself, like, is this about joy or is this about pushing? Slow, deep breaths. Staying for long enough to be able to hear the wisdom of your body. Good, y'all. Slowly lower the left foot behind you for warrior two. Your left arm lifts you up. Straighten your arms, straighten your legs, find center. Goddess pose one more time, toes out. Rocking side to side. You might move your arms in a seaweed pattern side to side a little bit. Just feeling right side and left side stretching. You can close your eyes if you feel silly. Just getting into your own rhythm, wiggling out what feels stagnant so that it can be part of the material that you're weaving. And if there are other movements with the arms, circles, or other things that feel good, just letting that happen as it needs to. Nice, y'all. Take your time. This is your movement practice. So it should be belonging to you and all of the parts of you. Yeah, when you're ready, straighten your arms, straighten your legs. Nice. Pivot to the top of the mat. Hands to heart. Step your right foot forward to meet your left. Mountain pose. Feet hips width. Hands by your sides. And just gently feeling what it's like to have some warmth in the body and what you learn as you listen in to where the heat is living, where it's inviting you deeper. Good. On your inhale, let the heat rise up through your arms, through your gaze. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, bow forward. Halfway lift, inhale. Plant your hands, step back, down dog, or a vinyasa if you need it. Good, y'all. Right leg up and back into the sky. Bring your right shin forward, cross it over the top of the mat. Lifted pigeon. So you could snuggle a pillow under your right tush. Your right shin is sort of across the top of the mat with the right foot flexed. Inhale to lengthen through your spine, lift your throat, lift your heart. And then gently let your pelvic floor soften to the earth. Let your hands start to walk out in front of you a bit. Melting towards your forearms. Maybe your forehead comes to meet the support of your hands or your water bottle. open your mouth, release the heat that's been building. Knowing what is enough heat to alchemize our work and our transformation is such a subtle art, right? It's like knowing how to help energy move, but not getting to the point where there's so much heat that the energy becomes frantic. And this just takes listening and practice and curiosity around what helps to spark a sense of aliveness in me without a sense of urgency that makes me feel like I need to move more quickly or reveal in some sort of timeline that's not mine. Just a gentle rock of your head side to side. Kadosh, kadosh, kadosh. The tension is holy. The earth underneath us is holy. Listening to the heart in a practice at the start of the day is holy. The part of you that's not sure about this is holy. The part of you that's very sure about this is holy. You can linger here for as long as feels good. We're just going to take it from half pigeon to double pigeon. So feel free to hang out in half pigeon as long as you like. When you're ready, you'll just gently lift your heart and then swing that back leg around to stack your left shin on top of your right. I'll turn so you can see. The knees can be quite lifted. They can also soften towards the earth if your body's designed in that way. There's no right way to do this. You might like to just separate your bum cheeks a little bit so you have some space to lengthen up through your spine. Yeah. And then if you like, you could take eagle arms, right arm under left again. Just gently feeling the subtle lift of the forearms as your sits bones soften towards the earth. They're drawing apart and they're drawing together, these hemispheres of the body. And parts of self, the part of you that is firmly planted in your day-to-day life and experience in the lower half, the earth part of your body. And the part of you that lifts up into the dream realms, into the realms of sky and air and ether. This holy part that knows how to envision and dream. What a gift it is for the weaver to have both parts, because we need the capacity to dream something that we haven't seen yet. And we also need the practical elements of our hands and the thread of what we're weaving and the tapestry as it emerges. And it might be that the eagle arms melt away at some point. And you start to add on your own little moon flow here. One arm lifting up and over, and then circling around and lifting up through the other side. Feeling the fullness at the top, and the softening, the release of the shape around the bottom. You might like to reverse directions or find a different pattern as you move. And slowly rise up, bring your hands back behind you, unwrap your feet, windshield wiper your knees gently side to side. And then lying all the way onto your back, take your time to get there. Bend your knees, walk your feet in towards your sits bones. Plant your hands by your side. Really feel the solidness of the earth and of your pelvic floor supporting you. And from that place, press into your feet to lift your hips for bridge pose. And this might not be your firmest bridge pose ever, right? Instead, maybe err on the side of fluidity. So moving the hips a little side to side. Softening your jaw. How can there be a lift and spaciousness but without rigidity here? Every time I weave together a new offering, a class, an idea, an embroidery pattern, there are inevitably parts where I just have to unravel a whole section of it. And this is actually kind of the beauty of it, is every time I get irritated about it. And every time something else emerges after having unraveled and reimagined, reworked the same thread. So letting go of rigidity makes space, right, for what is possible. Come down to the earth when you're ready. Stretch your feet up towards the sky. Flex your toes back towards you. Good, and then we're just going to release any holding. Kick, kick, kick with your feet. Big wiggle in your thighs, in your toes. You might let out a big exhale. Letting go of the hold, the grip of perfection or polishing. Just releasing into the humanness of where your body is right now. Good, y'all. Squeeze your knees in. Happy baby pose. Feet out wide. You can hold your knees or your toes and rock a little side to side. So your lower back make contact with the earth. And then hug the legs in, hold the back of your thighs, rock forward and back. We're going to build a little momentum. I feel. Rocking up to a forward fold. So plant your hands and fold forward. Good. Halfway lift. Deep breath. Exhale. Fold. All the way up to standing. Reach up towards the sky. Hands to your heart. Exhale. Go ahead, step onto your left foot, hug your right knee in towards your chest. Right knee out to the right for tree pose, above or below your knee. And then maybe reach your arms up, interlace your fingers, press the heels of your hands up towards the sky, or some other variation that feels right to you today. We're not asking the right and left to be the same. We're just asking them to communicate. So bring this left side in towards your right a little bit, and the right side in towards your left. And feel into the center space where they meet. Good, y'all. Knee in towards center. Release your foot to the floor. Shake it out. Second side, step onto your right foot, hug your left knee in, left knee out to the left. Front body, back body, right and left, above and below, all coming to meet. And you might feel some heat and tension where they meet, and also some inkling of connection. Both can be true at once here. You can be in a state of fullness in your engagement with what is, even if you yourself are not feeling full of inspiration or curiosity. You can still fully be present. Even in the boredom or the sadness or the blah, there's something really holy about showing up for that too. Good, y'all. Big breath in and out. Back through center. Release your foot to the floor. Shake it out. Stepping to the top of the mat. Inhale, reach up, gaze up. Exhale, fold. Halfway lift, deep breath. Downward facing dog. Good. Left leg up and back into the sky. Big breath. Left shin comes forward. Flex your left foot. Setting up for lifted pigeon. Take a moment. Walk your hands back. Lift through your belly. Lift through your heart. Make some space. And when you're ready, you can let your left hip widen a bit. Stretch back through your right toes. And start to come down towards your palms or a pillow. Honor the tempo of your own breath. You might like to stay for a while longer, or you might be ready to swing your back leg forward and stack your shins for double pigeon. Just a little wiggle. You don't lose anything by recalibrating and pausing, giving yourself space to adjust. And if you like, left arm under the right, eagle arms. A gentle lift through your forearms. And a gentle softening and weightedness to your legs. And if it feels okay for your neck, you can really slowly move your head to gently look over your right shoulder for a few breaths. And then gently look over your left shoulder for a few breaths. Just moving in your own timing. Notice if there's any sense of calm or ease or trust that comes through from this practice of paying attention, offering company to these different voices, these different threads in the world around you, in your internal world. And when you're ready to unfold, take your time, slowly unwrap for boat pose. Feel the engagement of your little belly and your heart lifting up. The strength and the wobble. And then feel the contrast as you melt all the way down onto your back. Let out a big sigh. Another minute or two to do any final movements that feel good. Sometimes I like to finish with a twist on my back, knees together, letting them fall to one side, and then switching sides. But if something else is calling to you, an inversion or another heart opener, feel free to take it. And when you feel ready, you can melt onto your back for Shavasana. So finding your way into some kind of a resting position. It might be that it feels good to curl onto your side or lie back with a blanket over you. Slowly, not rushing the process of finding rest. Sometimes this part is actually the most challenging part. Deep breath in and a full breath out. And we'll just take a little journey, a spirit journey to the Weaver together. You are standing before a temple. See it as you imagine it. People are going in and out of the gate. You slip inside and meet a guide. The guide takes the form of someone who has been an important spiritual guide for you. This guide indicates to you that you have been given the honor of visiting the Weaver. Your guide leads you to the ritual bath. You take time immersing in the liquid, clearing, opening, letting go of what you don't need to carry on this journey. When you are done with your immersion, you dress and you follow your guide until you come to a quiet courtyard. The courtyard has a table with 12 loaves of bread and a vessel of water. an incense altar, and a 7-branched lampstand that looks like a tree. To the rear of this courtyard is a tent-like building. Walk around it. Each wall is a beautiful tapestry. When you look more closely, you discover, to your surprise, that each tapestry is a scene from your life. You enter this tent and see a woman seated at a loom. The loom is ancient. The woman, without stopping her weaving, invites you to pull out a thread from the loom. This is your life thread. This thread can help to tell you, in whatever way it will, how you are yearning to help it heal, grow, and serve life. This thread sings to you of the larger whole, the fabric of galaxies. When you have heard all the thread has to say, you can let it go, and the weaver will weave it back into the fabric of creation. Pause for a moment. Listen to the thread. What is yearning to be known and met? When you're ready, offer the thread back to the weaver so that she can weave it back into the tapestry. Offer gratitude to the weaver and slowly walk out of the tent. Take your leave of the courtyard. Your guide leads you back towards the temple's main entrance. You leave through the eastern gate and go back into your waking life. Start to notice your breath here in your body as it is. The heaviness of your body resting on the earth, anchored and supported here. And just notice what it is that you'd like to carry with you from this visualization, from this practice today. It might be the tiniest thread, the tiniest little bit of curiosity, of frustration, of honesty, of clarity. Let the rest melt away. Let the earth absorb it again. And let yourself hold this one little piece tenderly in your hands. Start to wiggle your fingers and toes a bit here, rocking your head side to side. You might hug your knees in towards your chest and give yourself a big squeeze. Yeah. When you're ready, you can slowly roll over onto one side. And take your time to come up to a seat. There's this beautiful Jewish prayer, L'Chadodi, that we sing every Friday night for Shabbat, and I was reading the translation of it because I've been practicing a harmonium in this, what I lovingly called the Jew band at my synagogue, and we've been singing this song, and I realized that I've been singing this for years now, I mean literally decades, and that the first line is about the weaver. And it says, Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad hishmianu el amuchad. The one who weaves all together causes us to hear both keep and remember. And I think there's something beautiful about this, that the weaver helps us to call forth not what is new, but what has been old and what has been hidden, and what is ready to be remembered and held, what is ready to be seen and engaged with in a brand new way, an old thing emerging in a way that we can feel some healing, some resolution, some purpose around something that has been an old wound or an old loose thread. So my invitation to you today is to hold these threads really tenderly and with love. It's such an honor to be with you in this very human and messy exploration of getting to know the parts of us that have gotten really practiced at staying hidden, right? And what tender, raw, vulnerable, brave, holy work that is. So I say, Om Bolo Shri 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 Satguru Bhagavan Ki. I bow to all that is holy in you, the teacher in you, the wise one in you, the weaver in you. It's such an honor and a blessing to practice on this Tuesday morning with you. Thank you so much for your offering and your authenticity here. I'm going to stop the recording